welcome back. Welcome back to another Earnings Lottos Power Hour Live. I'm your host, Pete. As you know, for the next hour, we will be using earningslottos.com to find or try and find the best earnings plays, the best things to report tonight and tomorrow morning. Please like the live, subscribe to the channel. It lets me know that you like the content and more importantly, it is working for you. Go to earningslottos.com while we get started up here. Register for an account. It takes 30 seconds. We'll send you a confirmation email. And then once you're in, you can play Earnings Pickem with us and you can view the deep dive calendar. For next week's calendar, I likely will have that ready live by probably Saturday evening, I would say. Maybe Sunday morning at the latest. We'll see. But without further ado, let's get into some of the things or some of the names reporting this afternoon and tomorrow morning. We'll do a quick recap of yesterday. If you traded MU, I'm sorry to say that I don't think you are going to get, you didn't get your 10% move there. So we actually talked about fading MU and maybe trading some sympathy plays. So I think TSM would have been a good one this morning. It was down it was down and everything kind of just shot back or grinded back up. But some of those sympathy plays definitely could have worked on MU. 5, looks like 5 below, made a 10% plus move. So if you got 5 calls, congrats there. And then on the ones reporting this morning, if you were able to grab SIG calls, congrats there. We did talk about how there was it was an order on the bid for the 90 call and an order on the ask for the 80 call. So somewhere in between 80 and 90 would have been a pretty good strike to take. So congrats if you took any Signet Jewelers calls. And then it looks like Duluth Trading made a 45% move up. So if you were ballsy enough to get something as cheap as Duluth Trading, then pat yourself on the back for that. This week is a very uncertain week, it being OPEX. So that means tomorrow, everything that has monthly options expires. And usually during an OPEX week, it's pretty choppy. So something to keep in mind. I haven't played any earnings plays this week. I was kind of waiting until today to trade maybe 1 or 2. There's a couple that I have my eye on. But we'll go through them all. We'll look at the narrative intel for each. We will look at the strangles that we're finding for each. And then if something looks worth taking an opportunity on, then we will do it. Otherwise, FOMO has left the building. I couldn't care less if I miss a play because the market is always there and opportunities are endless. So the first one that we have reporting for this afternoon we'll look at is Planet Labs. So PL or Planet Labs, this is that satellite kind of company. I want to say, they do a lot of like satellite and imagery stuff. And then they were in the news very recently because they announced that they were going to do a blackout of certain Middle East regions. So I don't really know what that has to do with anything earnings wise, but it's just been in the back of my head as I have been anticipating this stock's earnings report for this afternoon. So EL score, great EL score. 91 is fantastic. It is a cheaper stock than I typically like trading myself. I like earnings plays that are at least 50 and above. 100 is a great threshold or a great floor, but 50 is kind of where I start considering earnings trades. But I've been kind of waiting for this one, and I don't really know why. Sometimes stocks just kind of stick out in your mind for one reason or the other. The expected move is good on PL or Planet Labs. And the historical moves are really good. So 7 out of the last 8 quarters, it has made a 10% move up or down. I think if you have been waiting to trade something this week, I think PL or Planet Labs would be a good one to gamble on a little bit. End of the week usually move better, at least in earnings. That was the case with Ulta last week. And so that's just kind of what I've been banking on this week. The narrative intel for Planet is pretty interesting. It is a sleeper re-rate, which I always personally like. They do a little bit of defense stuff. They have a geospatial narrative going on. As you can see, their sector and theme is more satellite imaging and geospatial data. And it matters because Earth observation and geospatial intelligence are gaining importance for defense and climate analytics. So like I mentioned earlier, when they announced that they were going to do that blackout for, I want to say it was the region very close to Iran, that to me implies some defense some defense relationships, right? Like maybe they went dark because they didn't want to give away certain defense, intel and that kind of thing. So I do find it interesting how these satellite companies talk about how they're geospatial, they're satellite imaging, they're more geospatial data, but they seem to have very close relationships with the defense, well, either the Department of Defense, the Department of War, whatever you want to call it, or defense contractors and companies. So that relationship is a little interesting to me, and as you can see, the narrative intel nailed it. The strangle that we are pulling for Planet is disappointing for me. I was hoping to see something, at least one side with more volume over open interest, and hopefully some pricier contracts. That's not really the case, but I would say if I had to guess, because the call, so the 30 call being just slightly 10% out of the money up, and pretty decent volume, good open interest. So that means traders had opened positions prior to today, and those contracts were still open. They haven't been closed yet. So I kind of like the 30 call here. I don't think I would go too heavy. And I think on a stock like Planet, I think it does make sense to strangle. So I'm going to come back to this at the end to see if I personally want to trade it. I really don't know now. Nothing is really standing out to me right here on it. The 23P being 15.5% out of the money down, and yeah, volume this to me kind of more looks like a sold position, but it is a 7 out of 8 mover, so there's a good chance that they both could be bought, right? Every other trader knows this. They all can see the past report history for Planet, and so I think there's a good chance that these are both bought. But I'll put a pin in it. Planet has definitely been one of the focuses for me this week, at least in anticipation of trading it for earnings. So I'll come back to that one in a little bit, but I kind of like Planet and I kind of like the calls right now. Scholastic, so SCHL. I think if you grew up in the States, then you probably know about Scholastic. I can remember getting the little catalogs in school, circling the books that I wanted, and then going to the library when they did the book fair and redeeming whatever tokens they had for us for books. So I really liked Scholastic as a kid, and I think they're still relevant now. I don't know if they still do the book fairs and that kind of thing. Maybe it's more digital, but just the first thing that I kind of think of. And I didn't know this too, but apparently Scholastic owns the rights to various books, including Harry Potter, Dogman, whatever Dogman is, and the Hunger Games franchise. So I didn't know that. That's interesting. I wonder they probably get royalties off of all Harry Potter sales and Hunger Games sales. That's really interesting. Did not know that. Yeah, the report history for Scholastic, it moves every once in a while. It's not a must trade by any means, nor does a must fade. I think it's too cheap of a share price for me to consider. But the report history is good. So 5 out of the last 8 quarters, it has moved 10% up or down, which we always like. The narrative intel does kind of paint the picture of more of a low move grinder than anything. As you can see, it's more of a steady publishing business than a narrative stock. So I don't really like that, and that kind of puts me off of it. The strangles that we're finding, the 35 call, very close to the money. Hard to tell exactly what's going on here, but I would imagine they're bought. There's just not a lot of volume, not a lot of open interest. I'm kind of surprised that I was even able to get something for Scholastic, but there's some liquidity there, apparently. I just don't think much. The put 30p, 11% out of the money, that looks sold to me, but the volume over open interest is interesting. I don't think this is a stock worth doing a lot of research into, or even spending a lot of time on. This afternoon, I think there are maybe 1 or 2 other better alternatives. So I would say Scholastic looks like a good fade, but if I had to pick, I would say close to the money calls, and then maybe do a little DD and find out what's going on here with the 30p. Maybe they're sold, maybe they're bought. Maybe Scholastic tanks. I have no idea, but for me, it's a fade. I don't really like that one. Nothing stands out about that. Let's look at FedEx. So I know a lot of people are anticipating FedEx earnings, and this has been the stock that they were waiting on all week. To be completely honest, it's not one that I have any interest in. just without even seeing the strangles, without even looking at any of the past fundamentals or past EPS or even its price to earnings ratio, only because FedEx has only made two 10% moves in the last 2 years. So there is if you want to equate that to a percentage, if you're going to trade FedEx and you're going to trade it 10% out of the money up or down. So if you buy like a 300p, if you buy like a 400 call, that's a 25% chance that it's going to work, that it's going to go your way. It might actually even be less than 25%. I can't do math today for some reason. But it's a very, very low chance that you're going to hit that 10%, it only having moved 10% twice out of the last 8 quarters. Narrative intel, but share price is great, right? 352. We're looking at a 10% move. We're looking at $35 move in either direction. So if I were going to play FedEx, I would play within 10% up or down. I would look at something like a 330p or maybe like a 380 call, but I don't think I would go anything further than that on either end. If you do, then buy next week. And actually, I would suggest for anything we buy today, it should be a 327 expiration. Narrative intel is interesting on FedEx. It does have a sleeper re-rate thing going on there. Obviously, they're into global logistics and shipping. FedEx often moves on cost cutting and global shipping demand signals. It can be a macro read through for the economy. So, as you know, there's a lot of global geopolitical BS kind of happening with the Strait of Hormuz right now and that kind of thing. I think that has more to do with oil, but I'm not quite sure what else travels through the Strait. I'm sure a lot of things that you can buy in Asia and east of the Strait. I'm sure the Strait is used for logistics, just even shipping, just things other than oil. So maybe there's a connection there. And if FedEx, like I could see the FedEx CEO coming out and saying something in the earnings call that alludes to the Strait of Hormuz and alludes to maybe some congestion there that affects FedEx logistics. And if that's the case, then that's noteworthy to me, I think. The strangles that we're finding, yeah, I mean, I glanced at this beforehand. I'm not going to lie. I glanced at this maybe like an hour ago. The strikes were slightly different there, but as you can see, both the strikes that we're pulling up are within 10% of the money. They're both going to be pretty pricey. So if you do trade FedEx, you're going to be paying for it, I think. And to be completely honest, I don't think this is a stock worth paying up for. It's not a stock that has proven it can consistently move 10%. So I think if you do trade one of these, you buy one side, you buy one contract. Depends on what your portfolio looks like. But for me, if I were doing this, I would trade one side, I wouldn't strangle it, and I would buy one contract. And I would probably try and buy a contract next week. If you're going to pay for the 365 or the 330, well, you can see they're around $3-4 each. So if you went, let's say you were bearish and you wanted to get something a little bit more budget friendly, but was next week, maybe look at a 325p or even a 320. It doesn't have to go in the money for it to work, especially if you have time on it. So that's just what I would suggest. Looking at both of these contracts, almost impossible to see what's going on. The contract prices are pretty similar, right? Both around $3 or $4-ish. The volume, both have more volume than open interest. The call has pretty good volume over open interest, and there was only 123 contracts on the OI prior to today for the call, so that tells me there's immediacy in the call. It also could mean that it's a hedge. They came in right on the day before earnings or the day of earnings and bought hedges. The put side also is very interesting to me too. A lot of volume over open interest. 6.5, almost 6.5% out of the money down. So I would say it's pretty hard without, and I'll go into unusual whales at the end, and we'll look at the specifics about like what's happening with the 365 and the 330 here. But to me, I think I'm going to fade FedEx. Just nothing right now, at least, kind of screams a must trade. I personally don't like paying more than $2 max for a lotto, and especially on a company that, well, we can look at it down here, especially based on a company that has only done a 10% move twice in the past 2 years. So I don't see this as a must play. If you have conviction on this prior to tuning into this, if you know something I don't, then like I say, disregard everything I just said. But if you only like playing earnings and you want to make sure that you're playing the highest quality setups, I think FedEx is a safe fade for us today. I'll come back and look at the unusual whale stuff in a little bit though on FedEx. Fly is another one reporting today. So Firefly Aerospace. Now this is kind of a newer company. I don't even think they have 8 quarters of reporting under their belts. So something to keep in mind. But pretty cheap share price, $23 a share. Good expected move. So a 10% move off of 23 is around $2, $2.30, maybe $2.50, $2.50 up or down. So we're probably looking at 25 calls or maybe 21p or 20p. The moves over 10%. Like I said, I want to say we can look at it in unusual whales in a second, but I want to say that Fly is somewhat new. So 2 moves over 10% in the last 8 quarters. Narrative intel is good for Fly. So as you know, defense and defense type contractors, that whole aerospace sector is doing pretty well, unless you're AV, unfortunately, rest in peace. But the narrative torque is good for Firefly or Fly Group. Launch services and lunar infrastructure are part of the expanding commercial space economy. So Fly is interesting in that regard. Let's see, the strikes that we're pulling up, like we said, the 25 call, a lot of open interest on the 25 call. That's interesting. 10,000 contracts were waiting in anticipation of this earnings report. Pretty cheap contract, 60 cents a contract or so. So one contract is $60 there. 20p, so this looks like they are sold to me. 20p is 13.5, almost 14% out of the money down. Very, very cheap contract. It opened today at 66. Now it's at 20 cents, about 21 cents a contract. And that is the low of today too. Volume is exceeding open interest. I would say that these are sold, but I do want to do a little bit more DD and look at the specifics. But I would say Fly probably close to the money calls. I would buy March 27th expiration though. What up, Johnny? Do I like straddles? Not particularly. I like strangles. So I like buying an out of the money call and an out of the money put, strangling the stock in the hopes that one of them is going to hit. So that's kind of why I do a lot of research on 10% historical moves, because I don't like to pay up for lottos. One, and then two, I don't like to pay up for lottos. So I look for things that are at least 10% out of the money up or down, and that allows me to pay less for the contract. And then as long as I do my research and I make sure that I'm putting myself in a stock that has a high number of historical moves over 10%, then I can trust that either the out of the money call hits or the out of the money put hits and pays for the other side and more, which was exactly the case with Ulta last week. That was a great banger. RLMD, we will look at. You get to see my cat jumping up now. RLMD, so cheap, very cheap stock, $6 a share. It doesn't have a great EL score, 2 out of 8 moves over 10%, which man, I don't like. And yeah, no liquid options there for Ramalda. So that is a fade or a skip. And Gemini Pharmaceuticals, let's see if we're even pulling anything up. Okay, we are, so we'll talk about it. So Gemini Pharmaceuticals, not the greatest narrative intel, not the greatest history of moves over 10% in an earnings reaction. Only one in the past 2 years. And I always like, when I see a cheap stock like this, I always want it to have more moves over 10%. It's not that hard to move the needle on a stock that's $6 a share. So a 10% move shouldn't be difficult, but when I see this, that raises a red flag for me. Narrative intel, not good. And the strangles, 650 call has more volume than open interest on this. It's a very cheap contract. And the 6P is very close to the money. This, to me, if I had to guess, it looks like the 6P are bought, the 650 are sold. But to be completely honest, I couldn't care less because this is too cheap of a stock for me to get into, and I would suggest fading it. Maybe it's one worth checking out tomorrow morning when they report, and maybe it's one worth grabbing shares of if they have good numbers or a good story as far as growth there. So that's basically it for this afternoon. Let's look at XPEV or XPeng really quick, and then I'll open up unusual whales and we'll look at some of the details on those strangles to see if they're bought or sold. So XPEV, another Chinese EV company. We've had a couple of Chinese EVs report in the past 2 weeks. We had NIO, we had LI. So interesting to note there. There might be a little theme. Narrative Intel is good for XPEV. Let's look at the move. So yeah, 2 quarters out of the last 8, it has made a 10% move up or down, which is not really great given it's only a $19 stock. Narrative Intel is good though. Chinese EV competition is strong and healthy. As you can see, Chinese EV makers remain one of the most watched global growth battles. Guidance on deliveries, margins, and autonomous features can move the entire EV space. I don't know if I would play XPEV directly. I think this last sentence here, autonomous features that can move the entire EV space. I think you pick your favorite EV stock. If that's Rivian, then buy some Rivian. If that's Tesla, you get Tesla. But I would avoid trading XPEV directly and do a sympathy. I'm just not into the EV stocks myself. Rivian, Tesla, they're just not stocks that I trade personally. I'm just not interested. I would much rather trade something like a crypto related stock like Coinbase or MicroStrategy. I kind of like those more, but that's just me personally. You got to trade what you know and trade what you're interested in. So I'm not really interested in EVs. But I think it will be interesting to know or hear what their numbers are and their growth outlook is, because I personally think that Chinese EVs are probably the best quality in the world right now. Volume leader, so our strangles that we're pulling in, I don't really know if anything stands out to me off these. The 19p being closer to the money and a pricier contract and more volume. I would imagine the 19p is bought and the 20 is sold. The 20 call is sold, but I think it's a fade. I don't think it's worth trading XPEV. I think if you're into the EV space, then you trade a sympathy like Rivian or something. What up, X Project Group? Imagine, dude, I mean, you're not wrong. So for some reason, and you know this, I think that's why you brought it up, that the market and Wall Street loves the 420 strike. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what it is, but I don't know why Wall Street loves it so much. But yeah, honestly, if FedEx did pop to 420, I would be surprised, but I would be like, you know what? I've seen it happen before. Okay, so what do we want to do? We wanted to look at Planet a little bit more because we have more than enough time today. Not many reporting. So let's look at the 30. Let's look at the 20. Let's just do our due diligence. And if I lag looking up this portion, please excuse the lag. But let's do, what did we say? The 30 call and the 20p. 30 call. Wasn't it the 25? I swear it was the 25 that was showing when I just looked at it, or when I was just talking about it. The 30 call, it's got some interest. Lot on the ask. I don't see much on the bid. Let's look at like a 7-day. I think this looks like calls. I think Planet looks like calls. I want to see what the put side look like. Are they strangling it straight up? There's a lot sold here. Well, I mean, 8,000 really isn't that much, but I don't know. There's definitely more premium on the calls. It doesn't even look like a lot of money is hedging, at least on the 20p. The hedge money could be here on the 23. Yeah, so there you go. There's a lot of hedge money on the 23p. Yesterday, 110K came in on the ask, or about almost that much. This was 334 on the ask. This was 567 on the ask for 64K. Let's look at something a little closer. Let's look at the 2650. this could go either way to me. I mean, I think these look like, I think the put side looks like hedges, and the call side, I think they definitely, the traders here definitely, well, I don't know. This is all over the place. Now you got like a big order that was filled on the bid for the 25 call a little on the 16th. This could go either way. The X Project Group, Planet is working with NVIDIA to build something, and they have healthy revs for their size. Interesting. I would say, yeah. I mean, so I think I do like the call side on Planet. I don't know. I don't know if 30 is realistic. That might be a little too far out of the money. But what if we looked at next week's stuff? So if we looked at next week, the 30 for next week, the 2750 for next week is getting sold. I don't know. This might be too much uncertainty for me. If I do get something, it'll be like the 30 for next week. Let's look at the 30 for now. I want to look at the contract chart in Thinkorswim. But this might be a fade for your boy me. I'm very picky with my earnings trades. X Project Group says for PL, I think market is going for a squeeze. That sounds about right. I might get the 30 call for next week for PL, honestly. I'm going to put a pin in that, but I kind of like it. And it's $1.80. It's $1. I think I would get it at $1.70 at the mid if I bought it right now. But let me wait. Let me wait for a little bit. But I kind of like the Planet calls. Maybe the 30 for next week. I wish there was more. When I see these strangles, I really like it when there's more volume over open interest on one of these sides. But that's just me. But Planet calls, maybe. I kind of like the Planet calls. Let's do the FedEx strangle now. Let's look at that. So the 365. And then I want to confirm the amount of moves over 10% for Fly. 365. 365 is bought. Why is there should be more? 2020th. Oh, it's the 27th. I'm looking at the wrong expiration. 365. Here it is. Yeah, that was bought. Look at that. There was 1,001 at the mid price for 525,000. And if we wanted to look at the 330p, I bet this one's going to be bought too. I think that was the guess earlier. Yeah, this one's bought too. So on the 330p, you had 1292 that were bought at the ask for 630k. So to me, X Project says Planet could get crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. Good call. I like that drop there. I like that reference. I don't know. FedEx is interesting to me, but I don't think it makes more than a 10% move in either direction. So for me, it's a fade. But like I said, if you have conviction in it, if you know something I don't, then ignore what I'm saying and just pay attention. But pay attention to this. Pay attention to the volume and the premium on this chain. Let's look at the 360. The 360 put got, oh my goodness. I would lean to the downside on FedEx, but I would hesitantly lean to the downside on FedEx. The 360p got hit for 947 contracts on the ask for 1.7 milli. That's a lot of money. That's a big trade. Imagine placing a 1.7 mil trade. The 335's got a lot on the ask. That's an order for 12.9. That's an order for 666,000 on the ask. The 330, and then I'm sure like as we get closer to 10% out of the money, probably a lot on the bid, like the 310. I don't know, the 310, there's still a lot on the ask too. Yeah, I'm with you, X Project. FedEx is either 420 or 275. No, I think if I had to make a bet, I would say FedEx makes a smaller than 10% move down. So that's what I'm going to say, but I'm not going to trade FedEx personally. But if you have conviction, you have conviction. I respect conviction. Being a very conservative and safer trader myself, I often lack strong kind of conviction, like confident conviction. And so I admire that when traders exhibit that. So keep it up. Look at the Firefly. So yeah, I was right. They've only reported 2 quarters before. So if you wanted to look at Firefly, 2 quarters it's reported, and out of the 2 quarters it's reported, both moves have been 10% plus. Let's look at Fly. Let's see what's going on here with the options chain. And I want to say like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I did see a lot of Fly options volume on either side, I think. So let's look at the strangles for Fly. We got the 25. Oh, I think it was Fly with the 25. Maybe it wasn't PL. But Fly with the 25 call. Let's see what's happening there. Looks like a mix, but I would say, I don't know. Let me look at, yeah, there's a lot on the bid. There's a lot on the bid. Look at this order on the, well, I mean, it's February 19th, but that OI is still there. So a lot is on the bid here. So that was the 25 call. The other one, I'm not singing that chord. You can sing Fly Me to the Moon. Fly Me to the Moon. 20 call, 20p. Good volume over open interest on the 20p. It's kind of the same story. It looks very mixed to me. But as you can see, just scrolling through the 20p here, there's definitely more premium on the call side. Let's look at something closer to the money. I don't know. Fly kind of looks... I mean, if I had to guess a side, I would say the call side hesitantly. Nothing... I mean, there are some... These just aren't very convincing orders, right? 4,800 on the ask. 14,000 on the ask. Just not very convincing. I wish the... And then if you look at the 20 call, or the 25 call, like that's been getting lit up with a ton of liquidity. But a lot of it has been on the bid. Look at this candle. So this was the 17th, so this was Tuesday. 805 contracts on the bid for like 97K. I don't know. I would say fade Fly, or maybe go very close to the money calls. And then buy next week. Buy next week for sure. Buy next week. But I think Fly, I don't think I'm into Fly. Yeah. I think the move would be, yeah, there's just a lot on the bid. I mean, that could be shareholders too, just selling calls against their position. That could be it. I don't know. Yeah, there's just a lot on the bid. What is this 219 order? Look at this 219 order. 5,200 contracts on the bid for 1 mil, and that order is still open. So I don't know. Too uncertain to me, I think. I like Planet. I like the Planet. I like the Planet calls. And I gotta trade something. I gotta feel something. I need to feel something this week. I need to feel something. Other than buying Coinbase puts, I need to feel something. Let's do it. Let's do a Planet call. Let's do a next week Planet call. Did this have a good... No. Oh, this was Fly. Why am I still looking at Fly? Did Planet have a good... It did. It was 7 out of 8. So I think I strangle Planet. I think I strangle it for sure. I think I do a skewed strangle. So more contracts on one side. More contracts on one side. That's the 30 call. We're looking at next week expiration. We got 20 minutes. We got enough time. Someone just hit the 2350 for how many contracts was that? 25. See, this is what happens to me. I start looking at the options chain. I see last sizes come in, and then I want to do research and find out what's going on there. So the 20, someone just bought some 2350p for a Planet for next week. So let's do this. Let's look at the, because what, that's $4 down. I think that's too far away actually. Let's look at the 20. Oh, they're expensive. Let's look at the 2350p. That's more than 10% out, obviously. But if we're buying time, not a bad idea. Let's look at the 30 call. I think we do a skewed strangle on the 30 call. I think that is the move. Yeah, hesitantly. I'm like hesitantly saying this. I'm gonna do a 30. I'm gonna do 30 call and 2350p on Planet. Fly, I don't think I'm gonna do fly. I got scared away. March 27th, 2350. Okay, I got one of those. Let me see if I can add. Let me get my put. My put hasn't filled. Okay, I'm gonna get more calls than puts. But not many. Okay, so I got the 30 call. I'm in the 30 call and the 2350 strangle for Planet. And then FedEx. Let's look at the FedEx just one more time. I won't take up too much time today because there's not really that many to go over. With the 370 and the 330. Let's just look. Let's just see what's going on there with the live kind of stuff in case there's someone watching that wants to trade some FedEx. 330. This is a crazy big order. Yeah, I gotta think that it's downside on FedEx. I don't think we're gonna get more than a 10% move. But if we do, you're gonna be real happy. Especially if you buy like 330s or 335s. I just don't understand why. So if someone has a huge portfolio, if they're spending this kind of premium, 625K, I just don't understand why they would strangle. Like at least sell the other side or something. But I just don't understand why both sides would have so much bought. I hope it goes crazy. X Project, I hope it goes crazy. I hope it goes crazy. I hope someone has conviction and they're trading it, and I hope it goes crazy. I want people to make money. I want this to work. I want things to work for people. I'm just myself. I'm just a very cautious, conservative, safe trader. I've definitely missed out on a lot of opportunities, but I have not blown up as many accounts. I bet. That's a big order on the 365 call too. It's really hard to say on FedEx, but I would lean downside just because of these big. Look at this big order. This big 370. That's what we're showing on the website. The 370, and the majority of that 370 came from this order, and that was all on the bid. So I would say lean to the downside on FedEx. Speaking of which, I need redemption on Earnings Pickem. So that's all I got for today as far as the stocks reporting. If anyone, like while I'm still chatting here and just talking whatever, feel free to throw a ticker in the chat you want me to look at, and I'll be happy to look at it. But that's all I got for today, really. There's not that many quality setups. Yeah, Micron, I got screwed. Did I bet up? I think I bet up for that. So let's look at Earnings Pickem. I got to get redemption. Do I go big? Do I go big on FedEx down? Let's see. 2,400 is on up and 1,100 on down. Let's see if Timbo flip. Ooh, Timbo flip pick down. This man always... Oh, look, he got Micron too. Timbo flip got Micron. We got to go with FedEx down. We have to. Right? He is the Oracle. He is the earnings Oracle. Timbo flip. All right, let's do it. That takes me down. You know what? Let me just do this. Let me just put 650 out there. So it takes me down to that flat 10K. 650 on FedEx down. All right, we're in. No, I'm not doing 3K. I'm not doing 3K. 3K. I'm such a I'm such a lame trader. I'm such a lame trader. All right, what else do we want to look at? You want to look at TSM? All right, all I got on TSM because it doesn't report this week is we can look at unusual whale stuff. That's a big order. 360. Holy sh! Can you see this? Court, you asked for TSM. Can you see this? I don't know if you can see this on your screen, but someone at the ask bought 49 million of the 360p that expires tomorrow. That's crazy. But that's really in the money. It's 337. So 360p is obviously super in the money. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a huge. I mean, that's like, imagine if you were trading. If I'm trading with millions of dollars, or even if I'm trading with like what I think is a big position, I probably get out quick, right? Like a one or like even a 3 or 4% move is going to move the needle enough on your position to where you're like, okay, that number looks cool, I'm out. So keep that in mind. Like if TSN, because they bought so far in the money, like they really just they don't need TSM to go down to like 315, right? They just need TSM to go down to like 335, somewhere around there, and they're chilling, and they'll sell that almost as soon as the market opens tomorrow. That was the 360, the 365. The 365 got lit up for 30 mil at the ask today. Something's happening in TSM. But see, like if you look at all these out of the money puts, like this 290-250 put is all being sold. The 315p got bought a little bit, but for 13K, man, compared to 30 mil, that's nothing. Chump change. So yeah, it looks like the big boys, the sharp money, is expecting a little bit of downside from TSM tomorrow, but nothing. I wouldn't say anything crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't say anything crazy. Here's all those orders. Can you see these? 387.50 for 10 mil at the look, they're all floor. They're all floor orders. You see that? All these big 5.6 mil at the ask, 7 mil at the ask, 6.7 mil at the ask. I'm surprised none of these were filled as no side. 30.4 mil at the ask for the 365p. These all expire tomorrow. They're not 327s. They're not 327s. So if the down move happens tomorrow, I don't know if the down move would happen more for next week. But that's crazy. Good eye, Court. Yeah, it does mean floor orders for sure. Yeah, interesting. Good call. All right, so I got the Planet Strangle leaning to the call side. I think if you get Fly, I think Fly makes sense. I think we like the calls a little bit better on Fly, but make sure you strangle it because it's only reported twice, right? It's only reported 2 quarters, and both quarters it's moved 10%. Albeit it's a pretty cheap stock, so play close to the money, but strangle it for sure, I would say. And then do a skewed strangle. Pick one side that you like more, buy more contracts, and then on the other side, just make sure that you have enough contracts to account for the side that you're rooting for, so to speak, if it fails. But that's really all I got for today. I hope this was helpful. Again, I apologize for the lack of quality setups this week, but don't blame that on me. Blame that on OPEX. Be very careful with your trades today. If you do buy something earnings, please buy next week. I can't stress that enough, especially with tomorrow being OPEX. I anticipate a lot of chop, but we never know. We never know what will happen in earnings, and that's why we love earnings. So again, I hope this was helpful. If you haven't already, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel so I can keep doing this because I love making these videos, and to be honest, they help me with my trades. So I've done pretty well in the past couple of weeks since I've done these videos. I love you too, Court. Love you too. All right, everyone have a great rest of your day. If you are trading FedEx, I wish you the best of luck. I hope it tanks. I hope it blasts off. I hope it goes in whichever direction you want. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. I will see. There's not many stocks that are good, that are high quality for next week, but I'll still be doing this. I anticipate doing a stream on Monday afternoon, so I'll see you then. Have a great weekend. Goodbye, everyone. Peace.